Alright, welcome back. This is the Game Dev Diaries. Unscripted at the moment and unedited, as you can see. um, yeah, but as I'll have more time in the future, I will edit it, give some zoom ins, and just make it look better for you know for the showing off and giving it a review of what has been done in my workings on the previous session that I had. So yeah. So as you can see, we're in Unreal, and there's 3 triggers over here. So each of these triggers have the interact component on them, and these different triggers will basically be different types of NPCs. So I'm gonna show you my notes like I did in the previous episode, because I feel like it's not really a secret. This is a Unreal project that I'm doing for a course. So it's basically using what I've learned in Unreal and how the engine works, and working that with what I know with coding and my previous engines, like Unity, to basically make something. make a game, because the previous projects was smaller games like word games and like building escape games, which is not really as deep as a full game with its own systems. So this is basically what that is. So like you've seen before, the health system is done, the maintenance system is done, and the checkpoints is done. So you've seen a demonstration of that. So right now we have a interact function that'll basically go through dialogue. It will also be able to interact with the world's objects like traps or anything like that, but at the moment, yeah, we're gonna focus on interacting with NPCs. So right now you can see that I have like the UI ticked over here, the dialogue text ticked over here, the skip dialogue button is ticked, and the speech options is ticked. I didn't do all the different speech options over here. So we have greet, yes and no options, like a prompt to the player, a shop, which also a prompt to the player, which leads to, the whole shopping system. Then we have the encourage and threaten, which is basically persuading another NPC based on certain things. So yeah. Give item when you need to, well, it'll be a prompt that opens up the inventory, which you can give things to people, or like even trade maybe. So yeah, and then we have discuss, which is like similar to like if you played Dragon Age or Mass Effect, where you can go into more dialogue options that could lead to more dialogue options along with that. And with that, we have the need to make a dialogue tree. Now, this dialogue system with a tree will be explained in a bit, but we can just go over and review what has been ticked over here. Oh, and a way to exit the conversation as well. So yeah, we can go back into Unreal. So I'll show you what has been added. So I'm not going to go through the playtest level right now. This is the checkpoint over here. But yeah, ignore this guy over here. But yeah, so this is our first NPC over here. We gotta enter the trigger. So this is basically being in range of an NPC. And yeah, being able to speak to the person. So on the bottom left in the output log over here, you'll see interaction is ready. So as long as the interaction is ready, I will be able to press F and yeah, go through the dialogue options. So I wonder if I should actually explain the states, but you'll be able to see now. So I'm gonna press F. So I'm interacting with the NPC. He's invisible, but yeah, I'll interact with him. So I'll press F. It'll show the player has interacted there on the bottom left. So this is the greeting. So now we're in the greeting state of the dialogue tree. So, hello fellow kitty, welcome to the worst place you could be right now. Hope you enjoy your stay. So that's actually the reference to the story, which is like the going to the factory where they're supposedly making this food that is causing cats to be obese. So yeah, you coming here to find out what's the deal. But once you enter, it's a trap and you get trapped inside the factory. Yeah, which isn't actually a factory, but yeah. Besides that, so this is the first state. So we're gonna go on to the next state of the dialogue tree. We're gonna go to the next state of the dialogue tree, which yeah, which will just be like normal dialogue. So I'll progress it by pressing F again. So you can see the dialogue has been progressed once at the bottom there, in the yellow text. Seems like we all had the same idea to come here. Pretty strange. It's like we were led here by the same person. Okay, yeah, hint, hint. Some story beats there. But yeah, so I'm gonna progress the dialogue again. So I'm gonna move along this NPC's dialogue tree. So now it shows I progressed it twice at the bottom. To be honest, I've been wandering around here for a while. I'm way too scared to go any further. This place looks dangerous. Yeah, so now he's actually in a state to ask a question. So the next progression of this dialogue tree will be a question. So he's in that state right now. So I'm gonna press F to continue the speech. You do look a bit lost though. Do you want to know where to go next? So yeah, so this guy's asking something to the player, and at this stage there'll be a yes and no prompt that will come up. So yeah, and I'll disable movement of the mouse and the shooting, but you can still attack and stuff like that, which some people maybe would want if they're in a dire situation. But I'll see in testing how needed that actually is. Oh, and the person's name will be over here. Well, if you know the person's name or not. If there's a dialogue line that has the person's name in, where that's spoken by the NPC or another NPC, it'll add the information to the known NPC, the trigger over here. So yeah, the prompt, yes or no. So yeah, I can't really answer right now because yeah, I didn't have enough time today to add all those other features to the dialogue system. So yeah, so we can't really answer this question, so the dialogue will just be there. So if we go out, it'll fade out, and now it'll show interaction is not ready. Okay, I went back into it, but you can see at the bottom left, interaction is not ready. So when I'm not in the trigger, I won't be able to press F and actually interact. So now it shows interaction ready, but when I go out, can you see, you can still see the question that I was asked, because yeah, I didn't basically pick an option because there isn't options, but yeah. But now you get the idea of the states. So if I just reset the conversation, yeah, so the greeting will be there, and then but we're still in the question stage. That's why we getting the question first. But yeah, then we can see, like, seems like we have all the same thing, so we can go through the same dialogue tree, the same order. So from a greeting to a NPC line, like a normal in conversation line, and then maybe another one, or another 3, or another 4, however long the conversation is gonna be. And then a question can happen. The player can choose yes or no, and yeah, anything else can also be added to like the dialogue tree. So we can see how it looks in VS Code over here. So yeah, so you can see I was busy on the dialogue tree over here. So it's there can be different IDs for different dialogue. So say this dialogue is 427. So 427 is a certain line of dialogue that can be assigned to a certain NPC. So if the first thing the person's gonna say is line to 200 or 427, and the second thing it can say is line 14. You know, like different lines will be different lines of dialogue that you can add to the trigger object, which is the trigger, the interaction trigger, which will be attached to a certain NPC. So obviously different NPCs will have different triggers because they'll be different people, like different cats or dogs or whatever. So yeah, so this is all in the interact function over here. Interact is coded over here to release when you press F, so you won't be accidentally progressing dialogue if you're holding in the button. You'll only progress the dialogue when the button is released. Yeah, then it'll run interact. So if we go back down here, so the greeting dialogue over here is the first state. So if you're in the trigger and you haven't been greeted yet, then you'll be able to start the interaction. So yeah, now you're in the greeting stage, and then this can be this is the dialogue stage. This can be multiple lines of dialogue, but right now it's just one line just to test it out. So, and then this is the second line of dialogue, which is actually the line of dialogue before the question. So this sets up the NPC to ask a question, and then this is the question itself, which the NPC, which the player will have the option to choose yes or no, or choose to go to the shop, or anything else. So yeah, so this is a flexible system right here. This doesn't define the dialogue. What defines the dialogue is all the lines of dialogue that will be set to the interactions dialog tree. So the dialog tree, you can see its declaration over in the interact component. So over here it's a T array of int32. So it's just integers. The lines of dialogue will be different lines, like line 14, line 16. So all different integers. So you can see over here, just a reset of so if you leave the conversation, so if you're out of the trigger, then everything will be reset and you can start the conversation from the beginning. Well, except for the prompt, because the prompt the player actually has to choose, but when that is added, then the player will be able to choose. Yeah, so we can move on to what defines the dialogue. So right now, everything that was written is in here. So here you can see it seems like we all had the same idea to come here. Pretty strange, just like we were led here by the same person. So that's NPC line 1. So it can be set out like this in blueprints, but I feel like it'll be better to be lines of code, because then you can just go into the document and just like change it up. This might be a bit messy unless this can be tied to a separate blueprint for that type of NPC. So every shop owner will have the same dialogue with like a little bit of edit here and there based on their personality. So yeah. And then we have down here, this is the thing leading up to the line of dialogue leading up to the question. So yeah, to be honest, I've been wandering around here for a while, blah blah. So yeah. Oh, and this play animation is that fade that you see going from different lines of dialogue. Yeah, then this will be the question. So then the prompt will line here, but here's the text being defined over here. So that text that you see, this hello fellow kitty thing, this thing is the text is being changed by these. So you can see set text to this. So it'll just use the same line of dialogue over here, and yeah, you can basically edit it over here. Or this will be edited, but you can edit the fade and the text over here. You can. This is basically where you will set the UI. So yeah. So I'll go back into here. If we wanted to add different interactions for different things over here, you can do it to the dialogue. Excuse me. Or you can do it through blueprints. So the way with blueprints is you won't have to really set the different settings yourself. So in here, if I click on each of these, you can see they have different information over here. So this dialog tree, if I go to interact on this one, this has none. So this is not set yet. So how this will work is you'll add, say, the first order. The order is on the left over here, which I can also like switch around. Like I can flip around whichever I want to reorganize. But this line of code over here will basically, or this integer over here will be the line of dialogue. So say there's a dialogue talking about the wall. The color of the wall is the right way to go because it's green or whatever. Follow the wall. That'll be line 15. Okay, wait, we'll first start with the greeting. Say the greeting is line number 2 of all the lines of dialogue. And then that dialogue about the wall will be, say, line 50. And then he can just be like, yeah, good luck with going down with following this wall. And the dialogue ends. So that'll say that's line 80. So this NPC over here, his dialogue tree will be different to everybody else's. Because he has certain sets of dialogue. But they'll all be controlled by the same lines of code over here. So this is defining what type of state he'll be in to speak different lines of dialogue. But it'll also be showing what type of dialogue you will say, like if it's a question or if it's in conversation or if it's a greeting or whatever. But yeah, this will be reused constantly and just changed over here to what he'll say. But yeah, it'll be tied to the lines of dialogue that will be set in a document that will be pulling from, or a class that he'll be pulling from. So you can see if I click on another trigger, go to interact, there's a different set of numbers. So different set of numbers is a different NPC. So yeah, so you can go in and edit what they'll say, the different things they'll say based on which dialog tree IDs they have. Yeah, if you understand it in that kind of way. But yeah, that's basically been the dialogue system so far. So we can just run through it again. Yeah, so I'll enter the dialogue field over here, or let's enter another one because this guy is gonna shoot at me all the time. Yeah, so I'll press F. So that's my greeting. And you can see the fade came in as soon as I press F, so it's playing an animation. I press F again. I'm progressing the dialogue. You can see the fade. There's the second line of dialogue. There's the third line of dialogue leading up to the question. And then there's the question, which is still gonna have a prompt. But yeah. So now if I go to this dude, press F. Okay, the question is still come up. But like, say you'll have a different array of different text, and yeah, you'll be saying different things as to the other NPC that I was talking to all the way on the right over here. So yeah, we can just skip through the dialogue like this. Obviously I can go further than the question, but yeah, you can just tap F and go right through, skip the dialogue. So yeah, that has been the things that we have ticked. So we shown that we can interact. We shown that the UI will come up for the text. The dialogue text will be shown, and the greeting of the character. There'll be a skip dialogue button to progress the dialogue, or like just trying to skip through to get to whatever thing you want to get to, whatever prompt maybe. Speech options, so it is ticked because I built the infrastructure for the speech options, but the speech options itself over here of the greet, yes, no, and shop and whatever, that must still be built. So yeah, the groundwork is built for that, but in the next episode of these changes, reviews, or anything, you'll see the change. Yeah, and a way to exit the conversation. So I don't know if I actually want to make it a button to exit, or just have the character just move out of the range of the conversation and then that'll end it. But a UI button can be made for that option, if it's needed, after testing. So yeah, that's been the progress so far. We can review on what's to come. So yeah, the name of the character when the character is known. I mentioned that when yeah, you come across anybody that mentions the name, then the character will get that name. Speech options will have a remembrance function. So yeah, different dialogue trees will link to certain information that will be added to that interact trigger, and that interact trigger is added to the NPC. So that NPC will have certain information of previous prompts or previous options that the player has chosen, kind of making like a remembrance function where it will remember certain options you'll have, and that is almost like choices that will impact your interaction with them or their accomplices or whatever, their enemies or friends later on down the line. So it will say helping somebody open the gate. If you don't help the person open the gate, then they'll all be stuck, or him and all his friends will be stuck outside the gate, and when you enter the next area you see there's a bunch of enemies, and now you don't have any help because you didn't open the gate. But if you do choose to open the gate, then when you arrive later, you'll see them welcome you and be like, yo, we are ready to take on this group of enemies. And you like, group of enemies? I didn't even know there was a group of enemies ahead. And then you see them and you have help. So like there's different outcomes basically. And over here, that's basically what I just explained. Friend and foe outcomes. So yeah, the use of your words can cause troubles, betrayals, or anything else. This will be easy to get set up. Well, easy in the sense of it's not too complex. The way of like making all these different pathways and maybes and you know, all these different things, but like the whole thing will be set on yes and no questions that will be presented to the player. So a whole bunch of yeses will be recorded as an integer, or a whole bunch of no's will be added to an integer, and that will be reflected in a relationship bar. So obviously the no's, or maybe the no's can be a positive thing, but like any positive outcomes with a conversation will increase the relationship bar, and any negative ones will decrease the relationship bar. So if your relationship bar is at a certain point at a certain time, then certain things will happen based on your relationship with that NPC. Yeah. So that's basically how that's going to be set up. But yeah, once that is done, which will probably be in maybe 2 sessions or maybe even 1 session if I'm lucky. Yeah, and then we can sign off this section over here. And then next we'll have the branching level path with consequences. The build levels, we're gonna set out a level because we basically have a lot we can play around with. So we have the health system, so you can get damaged and you can repair yourself, or like replenish your health. And then the maintenance system where you can repair your wheelchair. basically your vehicle. Um, yeah, so there's different tank stations and these tank zones hidden around the level, and then we have checkpoints so we can progress the levels better and not having to stop at the start every time, and also beat bosses and actually progress through the level and see things change throughout. And then the NPCs will obviously guide you through the story and actually guide you through certain events. So yeah, friend or foe events. Yeah. So with these four elements over here, we can build a level. So that's why we at the next stage will be this building levels, building enemies and NPCs, and applying the the combat system, the health system, the checkpoint, not the checkpoints, but the interactions to those enemies and NPCs, building traps, which will have its own interactions if you want to disarm them, or if you do get caught in a trap, certain things will happen to your health or to your maintenance. Um, Build one path that helps allies. This is basically your friend and foe outcome system over here. And build another that counteracts each other. So basically, at least build one level where there's a positive side of things and there's a negative side of things. So like, the whole thing of like opening up the gate and like not opening up the gate, like having those two things for different playthroughs of that level. So yeah, that's basically what we have headed for us. So yeah, this has just been a update, and you can basically see um, how far we are with actually setting up this game. So it'll be like a simple game. It won't be too long or really too deep, but these systems will basically be a demonstration for later projects to come. So I'm basically coding them out, laying them out in Unreal, having them communicate with each other, and also communicate with my blueprints setup over here as well. So yeah, having these all work with VS Code and in Unreal, that's basically the exercise. That's the um the goal basically. So when this will be done, it will be a full game with a story and with multiple levels and branching paths and NPCs and all of that. But it'll be mainly as a demo to to show off these mechanics that have been built. So yeah, and you can see like some of the mechanics are inspired by Dark Souls or the Soulsborne series. So you'll probably see more of them in the future. This has like this has a warning because I'm kind of obsessed. But yeah, Miyazaki is a massive inspiration. Also with a bunch of other developers out there. Um, but yeah, this has been another game dev diary or whatever I'm choosing to call this. But yeah, it's basically just an update on how far we got. So yeah, we can just go ahead and like win over here. Actually get some health. Let's see that poof. Oh. Oh, and all the sound effects and everything will be replaced. The mesh will be replaced. So I'm planning on getting the cat in the wheelchair. If you know the meme, you know the meme. Yeah, and basically plan out and do some concepts on how the levels will look like. But the first level will obviously be in this very rudimentary looking assets pool to pull from. But yeah, in later versions you will see cats and you will see dogs. Well, cats in wheelchairs and dogs as robots. So yeah, it's a wild world. But yeah, let's just go and win over here because we have no buffer on our on our gun. But yeah, once we do more testing on the combat system and everything like that, then we will be able to expand on it. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one of this unscripted, unedited yeah, diary. So yeah, this has been me, Dex. See you guys next time.